And what are you up to now, weight wise?
Two 216, 218.
Okay, I'm catching up, man. I'm about 205 right now, so watch out.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll probably go. I was like, I don't know if I should go to 250 or 350. And 350 seemed a bit high, so I think I'll just
yeah,
go to 250.
250 would
250,
look good on you.
350 would be that would be I'd have to buy a lot of new clothes
I think
and
250 though, you could probably maintain your body fat, maybe even drop it a little bit while you go up there. So you just get like a nice recomp up to 250 probably. With 350,
if
you
I go
might need a small
slowly. Yeah.
surplus. So
Yeah, if I go slowly. Because I mean, the last the last three bulks, I think 2019 I hit 212. And then 2021 into 2022, I hit 218-ish. And then the last bulk I hit 223, 224. So realistically, I'll probably end up at like 230-ish.
wow.
Yeah. 250 is a bit optimistic, I think. And I do think that there's a bit of trade-off for health being 230.
Yeah.
Um, I think even if you're in good cardiovascular shape, from a longevity perspective, you don't see many centenarians, 100
Yeah.
year old at my first,
Centenarians. Yeah.
who are 230. I don't know
No.
any. They're all
No.
like, most of them are women,
Yeah.
first of all. And then most of them are very light. And I think they're all
Yeah.
pretty short too. They're just small bodied people. And that's part of, I think, what is good for longevity.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah. I got my grandma Maconi is turning 100 in let's see, 3 months, three,
oh,
four
nice.
months. So yeah, she's not thin. It's just actually a
Okay.
kind of like obese Italian woman. Not
Oh,
like
wow.
morbidly obese, but like a pretty hefty Italian woman. No
Good genes.
exercise, but a lot of olive
Wow.
oil, right? So no, but I mean I don't think there's much debate that obviously genetics are a huge factor
Genetics.
when it comes to
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
um but yeah, it's very interesting when you look at lifespan because bigger animals tend to live longer. Like as far as
Yeah.
species, right? Bigger
Sure.
species live longer than really tiny species, and
Yeah.
yet within the species, yes, like within humans,
Yeah.
smaller humans certainly are the ones that are living longer. And part of that, obviously, the older you get, the more things are going to atrophy and you just kind of shrink. But
Yeah.
even that aside, just even if you were to correlate overall size, like there's no way Hafthor Bjornsson is going to be 95.
Yeah.
Like it's just not happening.
He'll be very lucky to make it. I mean, it's kind of morbid, but if he hit 80, I'd be impressed.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
same.
just I think it's just a numbers thing. And so this is one thing where I hear the line of don't focus on if you're natural, focus on health. And then they'll point to someone being, in some elite natural bodybuilder getting up to like 230 or 240 in the off season and say like, oh, do you think this is healthy? Well, it's probably not as good for longevity as if they didn't bodybuild and they, weren't as heavy in terms of the muscle and maybe getting up there and, into the high teens or maybe even low 20s in body fat percentage. But if they took steroids, they'd be way less healthy.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
almost like arguing two different things. It's this sneaky fucking tactic that pisses me off, where it's like, don't focus on if you're natural, focus on health. And then, take these supplements along with the drugs to make sure you're healthy. Boom. Now they're
yeah,
making money on both sides of it, right? The anabolics and also the liver support and the kidney support and all the support. I'd rather take no support at all. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
yeah.
You can keep all that shit away from me.
I would
As a
wonder
video
though,
guy.
and I don't know if there's any research. I mean, there certainly wouldn't be any direct comparison research here, but obviously, when you say steroids, that's a huge umbrella, right? And we don't know dosages or anything like that. But
Yeah.
I do think some people just kind of, they kind of wave away the fact that increased body weight and long periods of a surplus are not really that healthy for long periods of time. I mean,
Yeah.
some people be so I can't tell you how many friends I've had where they bulked up to, maybe just in like the low 200s, but it was outside of where their body, I hate to say, quote unquote, wanted to be. And they had blood pressure issues and
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
potentially
yeah.
cholesterol issues and everything. Now I have one client who's 350 pounds and his cholesterol is good. So it's going to vary a lot. But if you were to say, hey, twin A is going to bulk up naturally, but go to like 240 and 25% plus body fat, and he's going to do that for years,
It's a
versus
big
twin
boy.
B is going to
Yeah.
stay at a lean 180, but let's say he's on super TRT, right? Maybe he's on 250 milligrams of testosterone a week.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that that latter person is going to be less healthy. And I don't
Yeah.
know,
No, I would agree.
yeah, like at what dose does that lighter, leaner, maybe more cardiovascularly active person become, more unhealthy than the heavier natural? I don't know, but it's not
Yeah.
so clear cut just because you're natural, you're
Yeah,
healthy.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think there is some hypocrisy um, where someone's like, I'm natural for health reasons. And then you look at their diet and, well,
Yeah, or it's like
do you
I'm
really
vegan
care about health?
for health reasons, and then
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
Oreos, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, um, but then again, like that can also be twisted where someone sees you eating like one cookie and they're like, well, you said you're natural for your health. Well, it's like, that can be
Sure.
realistically like what's going to be worse for your health, like the occasional indulgence or, running cycles of anabolic steroids. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think it's just the dose makes the poison. And the dose can be a high body fat percentage. The
Right.
dose can be, from your diet. Um, Actually, the Chinese have a saying, "Bing tong ko ru," and Bing is disease. Song is from, ko is your mouth, and ru is to enter. So disease enters from the mouth,
Mm.
which I mean makes sense because your diet it can either be medicine or it can be a pretty bad poison. And so, yeah, it really just does depend on the dosage of what you're taking in. I actually saw some guy on a podcast. I forget his name, Brian something, where he's basically committed his body to science and he wants to live to 120 years old. And so he's
Is it
taken like,
is this like the billionaire dude?
yeah, he's super rich.
Yeah, and him and his son and his like dad are doing it or something like that, right? I just
Yeah,
heard about
he's
this.
he's the dad and his sons. He's trying to be as young as his sons, and he's like in his late 40s, and his
Okay.
sons are like
Yeah.
17 to 19.
Yeah, yeah.
He's he has like 100 pills when he wakes up every day, and he's on a 2,000 calorie diet. And he said he was 3% body fat, um, which I'm not sure. No, he said he was 5% body fat. He's gone up and he's got a little fatter. But I mean, his face was very, you can tell when someone is very lean. Like right now, I'm not lean and you could see it. But he was like, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
you could see the cheekbones, you could see all the details in like the temple and everything. So you could tell he was very, very lean. You could see like the muscles in his throat that don't really come out until you're,
Right. I can look that
well
up.
under 10%. So yeah, I don't know if he was 5%, but he was close enough that it's irrelevant. And he said, "I'm hungry all the time," because he's constantly in a deficit because he wants to live as long as possible.
Yeah. Brian Johnson
So
looks like.
yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
And so it was very informative. Um, but I don't necessarily want to maximize longevity. My life would be very different. My training would be very different. My diet would
Sure.
be very different. Because I think at a certain point, if you want to maximize muscle mass, yeah, you are sacrificing longevity. I don't think you're necessarily sacrificing the health in the years that you have, but you might be chopping off
Hmm.
some of those years at the end.
Yeah.
And of course, if you bulk up in an extreme way, I mean, yeah, you might be, asking for diabetes or high blood pressure or something. Um, my blood work is pretty good um, overall, and so I'm not too worried about it. But just because my blood work is good at what was it, 97 kilos, so 215 ish, 214, that doesn't mean it's going to be good at 230, right? Like that
Yeah.
extra weight can definitely have
Yeah,
an
there's a
impact.
lot more to it than, I mean, a lot. This was probably one of the flaws with people who were heavy in anabolics is, obviously the worst case was that they weren't checking things at all. But
Yeah,
then blood work was talked about a lot. And it's like, okay, that's a big step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah.
But then, there's other things besides just things that are not going to get picked up in blood work, or at least not picked up until things are pretty far gone. So,
Yeah.
just something to be aware of.
Yeah. Or it's like people say, yeah, I got my blood work. And I'm like, okay, so like, what was your HDL, LDL? Like, they're like, they don't know.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, like,
Doctor
oh,
said it
well,
was
I
fine.
got it. Yeah, you have to get it and also check it and like actually
Yeah.
know what it actually is. And so, yeah, there are people who they get their blood work and they just they
Yeah.
got it. They just check that off the list. But
Yeah, I would not trust that your doctor is necessarily going to. I mean, I've seen numerous examples where doctor just said, "Oh, no, yeah, it's fine," and it's like,
yeah,
dude, this is maybe not egregious, but I would not say this is fine.